there's science that proves if you have a belief in a higher being and a positive mental attitude, then those people that do have those two things fare far better, no matter what their challenge is, than those who don't.
Yes.
And I will all day long attribute it to my faith. And
it's hard to do. If it weren't hard, we would just all be happy all the time. So we have to be intentional about that to change our mindset so that we can have a better experience.
It's happening to you or it's happening for you. And it's perspective, right? It's perspective on
It's one of the chapters in my book.
Is it? There are studies. There are, I'm sure you all know better than me. I mean, so many studies that talk about what gratitude does for us.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's huge. And we don't always remember to do it.
No.
So I love how you had that aha, you paid attention, you listened to that little nudge of, oh, I need to be grateful. Yeah. And then that mantra, there's so much power.
And that's really hard sometimes, I think, to submit, to let go of whatever we're hanging on to, pride, whatever it is, and just submit and let go and let just something higher and greater happen.
Welcome to the Pretty Sister Podcast. I'm your host, Callie Stoyer, and I'm so happy you're here today. This is a place of friendship, sisterhood, where we're building confidence and friendship and joy, all good things. And today is a special day because I have my really special good friend, Lynda Roskelley, here with me today. And I'm so excited to have her. She's somebody I've been trying to actually have come on the podcast for a while because she's an amazing person, has an amazing story to share. And I really think it's going to be helpful to you to hear about her and her perspective and her experiences. So,
well, that's very nice. Thanks, Callie.
So, Lynda, thank you.
I can't believe it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, truly, she is a very special person. I want to tell you a little bit of backstory before we jump into this. When we moved here years ago, almost 9 years ago, actually, we moved from Maine to Utah. And my son, Braden, who was at the time, I want to say he was probably 13 years old going into the 8th grade. Does that sound about right? I think that's what it was. So that's
from what I remember.
Yeah, I think it was 8th grade. And that's a tricky time to move. Middle school years, those are some awkward years. And Braden's a really social kid and a smart kid, and he always had good grades. And so we moved, and I remember after the first semester and the grades came in, and he usually had all A's, and he was my kid I never had to say a word to, and he never even needed help. But the grades had flipped. I think he got some B's. So I said to him, Braden, what's going on? This is super unusual. Like, I've never seen this from you before. He's like, Mom, I don't care about my grades right now. It's all about making friends. Which I thought was so funny. He's like, really? Tell me about that. He's like, Mom, I am treating making friends like a full-time job. That's what he said.
That's important.
And it was interesting, his perspective of how much he cared. He's like, I've got to break into these social groups. I've got to make some friends. He wanted friends, and he's a social kid. Like I said, he wanted to have fun, and he cared about it. So it was effort. And I think that's an important thing to bring up because sometimes people want friends and they're seeking friendship, but they want it to just fall in their lap and just arrive at their door. And I learned a lesson from Braden when he said that because he was not afraid to work for it and to seek it.
Which says so much about Braden.
Yeah. And he really, like, by the time he, graduated high school, I think he was everybody's friend because he's that kid that just loves life and loves people and made friends with everyone. But where Lynda comes in, she's brilliant. And
it was not my idea. I have to tell you that.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us about it? Because this is what she was doing. Lynda was the host of Treat Friday. So tell everyone about Treat Friday.
So Treat Friday it was my sister-in-law's idea. So it wasn't my idea. And I thought it was brilliant. But my boys got to a place where they went from going to a private school, and they were just done with uniforms and wanted to play lacrosse and sports and be with their friends. And so I didn't know who their friends were. And it didn't concern me that much, but you want to know who your kids are hanging out with. And so I kind of followed Michelle's lead, and I was like, it was a huge commitment. Just to think about having whoever wanted to come over every single Friday. I just knew it would just be a lot of effort and take time. And I arrived at the conclusion that it was absolutely something that I was willing to do and take on. And
so tell everyone what Treat Friday was.
Okay, so every Friday after school, all of my boys, I have 3 boys, and it started with my oldest when he was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And I would make 3 giant pans of a homemade treat every week.
Every week. Just think about that, girls, every week.
During the school year. We would take summers off, but honestly, it was my priority. And little did I know, genuinely, just the amazing friendships, not only that would be solidified with our boys and their friend groups, but I just grew to adore these kids. And they would just walk in the door, open door policy, of course, and you throw open the door, and she's like, "What's for TF?" They have to shorten everything.
Yes. All the nicknames, yes.
And I think we'll talk about nicknames later, but so much fun that it just warmed my heart. And I instantly fell in love with a lot of the kids I didn't know, and just adored them because they adored my children. And they were just amazing friends to my kids. But having them in my home and having them feel comfortable and having a place to gather was everything to me, because I didn't like that they would just kind of roam, especially in middle school.
Right.
When they started driving, it's like, great, okay, you can go get in your car and do as you want. But it just felt so right to me because it was a gathering place. Well, and I loved that my house was that gathering place.
Yeah.
Kind of selfishly. I just wanted to know who my kids were hanging out with and be with them. And I loved it.
And you made that sacrifice to create that. And what was cool about it, especially from an outsider coming in, is that she was welcoming to anyone. That was the rule. It was anyone can come to Treat Friday. Of course, you had to learn about it and get invited, but you taught your boys that it wasn't exclusive. It was an open invitation, because the idea here, which I think is part of the brilliance, was to give the kids a place to come right after school. So it was right after school, so that they could cultivate and kind of make plans for that evening or the weekend, so that people could know what's going on. So you weren't committing. Well, I know you said in the early years you were letting them kind of stay all evening, but eventually
they definitely lingered longer.
Eventually it was this is a launching point,
right,
for your weekend. This is a go somewhere else to eat. And
well, and some of the through the years, as it continued, some of the kids were like, "Gosh, my mom doesn't do this for me." I'm like, this is not a competition. This is something that I've chosen to do. I welcome your moms to do whatever. I had friends offer to help, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
It was my thing. My sister-in-law said the same thing, and I'm like, you know what? It's okay to have our own thing.
Yes.
And not have to share. And
because someone else could do it too.
Well, we had Waffle Wednesday, a mom every once in a while would do Waffle Wednesday. They would do scone, a different day. I'm like, if they want to do that, great. Pick any other day but Friday. So at first I kind of felt selfish and possessive, but I'm like, this is my day. And I didn't want competition, and I didn't want the kids to feel like they were torn
between the different
one house and the other. So,
well, I remember they would start to do different lunches at different spots and whatnot. So they figured out how to get fed.
Yes, they did very well.
But what was cool for Braden is once he got invited to Treat Friday, he took that seriously, and he went there as many times as he could to cultivate these friendships. And her son, Riker, is my son's one of his very best friends. They're roommates in college now. So this has been years in the making. And that group of boys has truly, I get emotional thinking about it, because
this early, it's just tender.
But just that they've changed his life. It's the people you surround yourself with that make you who you are. And because he made these good friends that were good boys, it just changed everything. So it was well worth a few bees
For sure.
for him to cultivate those friendships. And you're right, we mothers have become close friends too.
For sure.
Because of that.
I love.
So thank you for that tradition.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. It's just, it's actually been really sweet to see. I mean, Braden took it to the next level. And just as there's not many new kids, that we've had. I mean, this group of friends really has been together for so long, but I love that Braden found an opportunity and was just so cute and so excited to get invited to tree pride.
Yes. Yes. Right? Tree pride was going to change his life.
The brotherhood that would come, from all these kids, especially this age group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just grateful for that and the outstanding, just young people that we had in our home. So really it went both ways, but what a blessing.
And then I think it was so cute for their senior graduation. Lynda made a Treat Friday cookbook that you gave to all the families, which was so fun because she did make all these amazing treats. Think of that. Every single Friday for 10 years, for a decade, she was doing that. And then she made this recipe book. So thoughtful.
So I wanted them to never forget the bonds they had. And if Treat Friday was a vehicle for that, amazing. I just compiled all the recipes that I made through the year. And I said, you go to college and make these, and you're on your mission, or wherever life takes you, please just remember how much fun you had, and you have each other's backs.
Well, I guarantee that this tradition will get carried. I mean, I've told several people about this, even a friend of mine who has a youngster in that same age, and she's wondered what could she do, and I said, Treat Friday, do that.
Right.
I mean, if you have a child struggling with making friends, this is a great idea for you. This is a place to start because, if you cultivate that kind of friendship, you can make these changes, or you can put forth this effort.
Whatever works for you. If every Friday or every, whatever day doesn't work, do it once a month. And it is a big commitment, but I feel like if people want to take this on, they can make it their own as well.
And you could pass the baton. You could get a group and you could have one day a month. So there's so many ways to do it, but it really is important. The other fun thing. So when we moved here, her name is Lynda. I told you that. But I was introduced to her from the boys. Her name is Lovely Lynda. Isn't that so cute? That's what they called her.
Yeah.
They called her Lovely Lynda. So when, in my phone to this day, when she calls me, it says Lovely Lynda. I've just never known her as anything else. And she is so lovely. Even when she pulled up today, I was like, you're so lovely because that's how I see you.
And also Callie wanted her own ring.
Yes.
Her own name. And so the boys were like, all right, cool Callie. And
yeah.
it fit.
They're so creative, these boys.
So cute. So creative.
Yes. So Cool Callie has stuck. They still call me Cool Callie.
Isn't that sweet?
It's so fun. It's so fun.
It's just this age group of friends. And they actually have shortened it, called me Lovely. It's just Lovely now.
Right.
I'm like I would never expect anyone to call me Lovely ever, but I'm like these, I shouldn't say boys, it's mostly boys, but there were a few girls that hang out. But this gang, I call it a game. Honestly, they have my heart, and I'm just like.
So tell me this, because and I know you don't know a whole lot about Pretty Sisters yet, because it's kind of new for me to be sharing this, but Pretty Sisters comes from my sisters calling me Pretty as a nickname when I was a little girl. So they called me Pretty, and then I eventually just called them Pretty, and we just called each other Pretty Sisters. And that nickname took on this whole new meaning. So you have been called Lovely. How is that, what has that done for you? Because I think there's a lot of power.
It's so endearing.
In a name like that, and having people see you that way, you start to take on those qualities.
You take on those qualities, but it takes you back to where that connection came from for me. And it is priceless. And if someone called me Lovely, I'm like, it reminds me of Riker and his friend group and that just very short phase of their lives, but it's continued. And I don't know if I should share this, but we're trying to bring it back to a college edition of Treat Friday.
I love it.
It's so hard to find a day. But, that's why high school is such a great time.
Right.
But they want to continue it and share with their friends, which is just the sweetest thing.
Yes.
But back to your question, I hear that name, that little nickname, and it just melts my heart.
Yeah.
Because the group is coming from.
Right.
Or what they, maybe
it's anchored into so many core memories and special feelings that have come from that. And that's how I felt about this word pretty. And as I've tried to and have talked about it on the podcast and social media and all the different places, I've really tried to describe what pretty means, that it's not about what most people think as far as looks or appearance. It's just, to me, it's this word of endearment. It's this word that means love and connection. And then, of course, as my sisters and I exchanged that word, we would grow that into, as we met friends, we'd just call them pretty as well.
Like you said, it's empowering.
Yeah.
And there's a confidence that comes with that when you can connect and relate to your people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It was a way of identifying our people. Like, hey, it's a pretty sister. So I don't think I've ever called you a pretty sister because you're lovely. there wasn't. I didn't need to call you pretty because you're lovely. But I think it means the same thing to me.
I love it. Fair enough. And thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah,
because now I know.
Now you know. So the other thing that I am really excited to talk about, and I know it's a little bit more personal and not dear, but what is the word? It's hard. And there's a lot of words to describe what you've gone through. It's personal, it's sacred, yes. So I didn't even actually know this, that Lynda was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis years ago. But when we met, I didn't know. Yeah. And at one point, I think we were serving dinner for the lacrosse team. And I think I was hosting, I was hosting, and you'd come over to help. We were in the kitchen cooking. And that was the first time I noticed that you were limping.
It was probably hot.
And
stress.
Okay, so we were feeding the whole team and coaches, and I think it was a banquet of some sort at the end of the year. Yep. And so you had come over to help, and we're in the kitchen, we're cooking, and you were limping around, and I just thought you had injured yourself. And then I think it was later that Braden said something to me like, "Mom, no, she has MS." And I remember being so surprised just in the way that you have handled that. Mm-hmm. And, but tell us a little bit about that, because it's been a journey, and one that, I guess, just to kick you off, some of the things that I hope you'll talk about, is how you've been able to handle that. And from an outsider perspective, I've watched you do it with so much grace and so much positivity, and this courage that just is amazing.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Callie. I appreciate that. And honestly, it's hard for me you're giving me way too much credit.
I'm not. I'm
going to go back to 20 years, when my body was, symptoms had started and trying to figure out what was going on, but didn't have a diagnosis yet. Mm-hmm. And it came and went, and I was like, I knew I wasn't going crazy, but other people could think I was. You know what I mean? It's just like,
well, because you were a runner.
I was a runner and a dancer.
Yes.
And then, so anyway, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought, but it just
you got
to something that I am going to skip forward to when I had my diagnosis. My husband just dove into so much research. He just read everything he could on MS, just anything he could on MS and what to do and what to expect. And, a lot of people thought it was a death sentence, which it wasn't. You just slowly are supposed to digress and get weaker and get worse. So not pretty, but, not
pretty. Can I just say, for such an active person, I said she's a runner, but she's also, I think this is just worth noting, that you're also married to an exceptional athlete. He is world famous, actually. He's the first person in the world.
First American.
Was it? Okay, first American.
Yeah. Other humans have done it, but he's the only American So he's climbed the 7 summits,
Yeah.
including Mount Everest. And then he decided he needed to go back to each of the continents and climb the Volcanic 7 Summits. So
he's the first person who's done all 14, and it was a big deal. We had
first American.
Okay, sorry.
I don't want to, take it away from other people.
Come on, let me just say how big the fish was. No.
Amazing.
He's amazing. We had a huge party for him. The news was there. He speaks, to audiences all over. It's not even his profession. He has another amazing profession, but this is his hobby that he turned into this amazing accomplishment. So
I'd rather be on the sidelines cheering him on and doing this. So I appreciate it.
But that's the kind of people you were and are. Super active people get this diagnosis and then try to figure out how do we do this?
Well, and that goes back to a very sacred time. And it has a lot to do with my faith, if I can share that.
Yes.
But we quickly realized that other people needed to see how we handled this trial. I don't know if there's necessarily more than anything we needed to learn, but just as important for other people to see. And you lovely ladies out there need to understand my husband, anyway, is the dearest man and adores me. And, will just go to the end of the earth to do anything for me. And honestly, because he's so physically fit, he piggybacks me. He literally just carries me on his back all over the world. And we love to travel, and I refuse to get a wheelchair because I think that mentally that would wreck me. It's just, personal, whatever. Call it my pride. That's fine. My choice. But
you're entitled to hang on to that for as long as you'd like.
Thank you. I'm going to forever. Yeah. But anyway, he's dear and puts me and our family first. And so that is huge. But yeah, it also is really difficult for me to ask for help.
Yeah.
I'm independent. I'm, some people might call it stubborn. I call it determination.
Yes.
I'm a redhead. It's okay. No, but very determined and having a very difficult time asking for help. So it's been humbling. And we've had to come together and decide what we were going to do and how we were going to move forward with this together. Because it's not just Lynda's diagnosed with MS. The whole family's diagnosed with MS. It's a family affair.
Right.
With anything, we're all going through it together, right?
Well, I remember you guys were so gracious on one spring break in high school. You took Braden with you to the Dominican Republic. He was so excited to go on this trip. I think at the time your older boys were on missions. Riker was the only one.
Well, he needs a friend. He doesn't want to hang out with mom and dad by himself. But
so he got to take Braden on this trip. And that was Braden's first experience to spend that kind of intimate time with your family. And I was so glad that he had that opportunity because he came home and he was changed again.
But I also saw Braden in a different light. I know you're trying to give me the credit, but...
Well, I mean, what he saw and came home and told me about is he's like, Mom, it was amazing for him to watch Riker help you and watch your husband Roscoe help you.
And it was very hot in the DR, so I needed help.
So she has to be steadied when she's walking. And like you said,
turned to lead.
Or carried places. And, or, traveling in an airport, luggage, bags. I mean, so many things that Braden hadn't been exposed to before because he has a mom who can walk.
Oh, I didn't think twice.
And he doesn't think twice about it. But to have him go with your family and travel and see.
He stepped up and was
I'm so glad
right
he did.
there helping. I mean, it's really, Braden's amazing. We could talk all day long about the awesome, amazing mother that Callie is, but truly.
But what a cool experience because, like you said, it's a diagnosis for the family.
Right.
And what a gift, though, because your boys, your husband, you've never seen people, men, so with such compassion, yes, and awareness, just so polite and so aware because of this challenge. And I think that is one of the gifts that comes from it. I mean, hard things are hard, and I see what you're going through, what your family is going through, and it seems so hard. But yet,
if I share
there's gifts, please.
Because So when I was diagnosed with MS, Riker, my youngest, was 2, middle son, Porter, was 5, and Drake was 7. Young, very active, very dynamic, wore me to a nub when they were little, but great kids. But, you want to protect them and shelter them from hard things.
Yes.
When they're little, and you want them to have a normal childhood and not stress about mom being sick. That was what I was just like, I don't want them to worry. And as they got older, anyway, I was told I needed to rely on them more, lean on them more. I was doing them a disservice. And that was hard to swallow. That was really, really hard. But I specifically remember being on a family trip. It was a hot day, and, we were in Europe, and instead of grabbing my husband's strong, he's very fit, arm, I just had this distinct impression that I needed to reach out for Drake. Nope. I didn't hear a voice. I didn't hear anything, but very strong impression that I needed to reach for my oldest son, Drake. He was 12. And I was like, having this internal battle, just, no, it's fine. But once again, you're doing them a disservice. And so I did. I reached for Drake. I said, hey, Drake, called him Drakey. I said, Mom needs help. I'm struggling. Do you mind if I lean on you for a second? And you know what he did?
I could imagine.
Back and shoulders and said, I've got you, Mom.
Yes.
And honestly, that child of mine, they're all very aware. But because I learned a lesson, and isn't it amazing what our children teach us? But he is the one who sees a need and jumps in. Where it's great to ask if I need help. It's, they all ask if I need help. But he just...
I love that. Straightening his shoulders.
And said, I got you, Mom. It wasn't a burden when I thought I was going to be a burden. No one wants to be a burden. That is just like my biggest... I don't live in fear. So anyway.
Well, I think that's such an insight that we often are the ones who are thinking that we're being a burden way more than I think when we do ask for help, and the opportunity for somebody else to step in and help for others is appreciated. People like to know how to help and how they can do it and serve out of love.
Bother me, honestly, I'm like, I'm fine. I just, for so long, I'm fine. And now I'm like, people want to feel needed and need to feel needed and be able to serve others and receive the blessings from serving others. And wow, I have eaten humble pie so many times because I need to let others serve me.
Yeah.
And that's really hard sometimes.
Well, I'm sure because it does.
Women.
Yes, it does. There's like that balance that you're walking between learning those lessons of allowing people to help and then also holding on to elements of your pride and dignity that you have the right to as well. And so I'm sure you're kind of dancing that a little bit as you've been navigating this.
A word I've learned that has become my greatest friend. And it's really hard sometimes, I think, to submit, to let go of whatever we're hanging on to, pride, whatever it is, and just submit and let go and let just something higher and greater happen.
Yeah.
Just elevated.
Right.
And that's okay if we need to let others serve us. And that's taken me, I'm old. I'll be 55 next month, but it's taken me a lifetime of having MS, really, and other trials. We all have our trials. Life is certainly not perfect, but man, does it shape us.
Yes.
And that is just what I'm most grateful for.
So other changes in your family that you had to make, you guys had to make a sacrifice and build a new home completely for you. And during that time, had to move out of your home
in the middle of a pandemic.
To build this MS-friendly home for you.
Main level, living, elevator, yes. And what a blessing to be able to do that. But, we moved from our kids' childhood home of 20 years plus to this, new neighborhood where things were uncertain. But I had to let go of that too. I had to let go of I just never dreamt I would get to this point. And to be fair, my biggest issue is I fell and broke my kneecap.
Yeah.
6 years, almost 6 years. Yeah, 6 years ago. And so that was kind of, the injury was definitely
Adding insult to injury.
Pun intended.
Yes.
All day long. So people look at me like, oh, your MS must really be progressing. And I'm like, while MS does me no favors, yeah, I literally just, the excruciating pain and chronic pain, man, I have a completely different respect and view and compassion for anyone going through chronic pain.
Yeah.
I never had before.
Right.
And so that has given me a new perspective. And is it fun? No. Do I love it? No. But I'm okay because I have learned so many things from them as well.
Well, and tell us, because so you're dealing with chronic pain, you're dealing with this decline, in your ability, your mobility, yet from the outside, you always have a smile on your face. You're always optimistic. You're positive. You wouldn't think that there's a care in the world. And I know that that's probably not true in the quiet moments of your home because you're a real person. But yet you've had the grace and the courage to deal with this so beautifully. What kind of, and I think you maybe don't see it as much as others see it because, and we've talked about this before, it's your natural competence. This is unconscious to you. And so what you're doing naturally might even be hard for you to put to words. But if you could, what could you tell us about that?
I was raised by parents who were eternally optimistic, and I give them a ton of credit at that. But I talked about my husband. He gives me all the support I need and is an amazing example to our boys. And it's a choice.
Tell me more about that, because that's incredible, knowing that he's a person that literally climbs the world, all over the world, and is on the go, and he's taken the boys to hike these mountains. Like you said, you'll travel with him. Hasn't he been a little bit flustered by this because
by my lack of
or does he just
mobility?
Or is it just like what's it called when he goes to hike Everest and you hire the Sherpas to carry your stuff up? Right. I mean, he's probably like, well, this is my moment to be a Sherpa and carry my wife, because he packs you around.
Not complained once, and that speaks to his character 100%. But I will tell you, there is, when I was first telling you that my husband dove into research and wanted to learn all he could, he found an article. I don't remember what magazine or whatever, newspaper it was, but I will never forget what he said. He goes, this is interesting because there's science that proves if you have a belief in a higher being and a positive mental attitude, then those people that do have those two things fare far better no matter what their challenge is than those who don't.
Yes.
And I will all day long attribute it to my faith and remaining positive.
Yes.
And my husband is that. And we decided early on that we would not be afraid to share what I'm going through. And, this is difficult and we need to share with other people. I don't even know what to say, just our experiences and even different therapies, just to help maybe them weed through the mire to know which path to go forward. And we just felt very strongly that we needed to help others.
Yes.
No matter what their trial was. So anyway.
I think that right there is so important, that you've put your focus on how do I help others, because the second we go so inside on our hardships and are so worried about ourselves, we can just be stuck deep in the quicksand.
It keeps you alive.
Yes.
Actually.
But when you shift the focus on, well, how can I help others? How can I serve others? How can I get through this or find remedies in a way that will help others? That's a brilliant hack to get through this.
To lose ourselves. I mean,
again, the natural ways that you've just done it intuitively is amazing.
It's a choice too. I'll be honest. I have my days, and it has not been easy or pretty. And I feel like it's a choice. You know, we can choose to
make over and over again,
or be bitter, or just say, you know, gosh, this is my life. Okay, I guess I'm stuck with this. I refuse. And maybe it's that determination to find something better out there. But I also believe that Heavenly Father has strategically placed people and therapies and, you know, remedies in my path, or vitamins, you know, could be anything.
Yes.
To keep me strong enough to be able to raise my children and feel like I'm not letting everyone down. And that, he knows I needed that, honestly. And I will credit my Savior and Heavenly Father all day long, if I can say that.
Yes, you can.
Because I'm who I am because of that and their intimate involvement in my life. And as I get older, I recognize it. And that is the biggest gift, is to be able to see that there is a higher power who's aware of me. And it's not me. I'm nothing without him. So I have to give credit where credit is due, but it is also a choice, and life's hard.
Right.
For everyone. Life's hard.
There's always something.
We can choose. And someone told me a quote from Tony Robbins recently, and he said, it's two things. It's happening to you, or it's happening for you. And it's perspective, right? It's perspective on.
It's one of the chapters in my book.
Is it?
It's titled that. You'll be able to read that soon.
I'm so excited for that to be released. But how amazing it's such a paradigm shift, and just it's such an important way to look at life. And I don't know,
right, it's like these experiences that are happening for you. That's what's shaping your sons into the men that they need to be.
Yeah,
that's how it's, you know, these adversities are actually happening for you, not just to you.
Absolutely.
So tell us about this, because every time I've seen you and asked how you're doing, you've always been in pursuit of, can we say it this way, a cure. Yeah. Like you have not, you're so relentlessly fighting this. And I think doing it in a balanced way, not in an unrealistic way, you're living with it. You know you have it, but yet you're not just so submissive. And I think it's that hope that you hold out there that keeps you always searching, like you said, for different remedies, but different treatments. And you'll even go to different countries and you'll try. It seems like you will never exhaust the potential solutions. But how are you fighting it in that way? What's your thought process?
A lot of it's determination, for sure. But I have a strong belief that I will be cured. And there is something out there that one way or another, we're going to find it.
I love this. It's like she's in pursuit of the Holy Grail. It's like that kind of determination. It's so beautiful.
It's who he is too.
Right. He's the man who has hiked all 14 summits. The only American to do it.
Determination and just not ever giving up. Never, ever, ever give up. Is that President Lincoln? I mean, you know, think of all the failures so many people that went before us had, and they refused to stop and let go. And that's just, I feel like, in me.
Yes. If we could bottle that up and sell that, right? Because it is I think it's such a gift that you have that people don't have in spades like you do. I mean, I know you think I'm being complimentary, but it's a beautiful gift and perspective that you have to just not lose hope and to continually be seeking solutions so that you're not completely resigned to it. And I think it's that mindset that keeps you traveling the world, even though it's hard. You're not, I guess that's the thing, is you're not afraid of hard, and neither is your husband, obviously, from the accomplishments he's had. No one's afraid to do hard things. And so
it's true.
Even when I brought you to the podcast and there was 10 steps to walk down into the studio, and I know that's hard to do and takes time, but But she's like, oh no, it's fine. I've got it. We'll just have to take a while.
Go slow.
We're going to go slow, but I'll walk those stairs. And I felt terrible because I know that it's not ideal, but you just don't shy away from the things you want to do.
Well, here's the deal. And I was talking to another friend about this recently. We are going to keep experiencing the same things over and over. It's kind of, the saying, you can rub it, you can't hide, until we overcome them.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about the movie Groundhog Day. I'm not trying to digress here, but he had to keep experiencing, we all have to keep experiencing things over and over until we overcome them. And then we can move forward to the next thing. So I just thought, I'm like, oh, that was really a good analogy. I appreciate you reminding me of that it is our choice to keep pursuing and overcoming whatever issue or trial or challenge we are faced with.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
that's worth.
well, I think it's a beautiful thing to remember. And I think that for those listening who are dealing with something that seems like it's, because I guess when you say that, it feels like, okay, Groundhog Day, it's going to change and you're going to get a new level or, a new lesson. But with a terminally ill person or a permanently, like a diagnosis like yours, that's not the flu or it's not a broken arm that's going to heal.
There's no cure.
Yet.
There's no cure yet.
And so you're living this day in, day out, like Groundhog Day.
It's not easy.
And so your physical ailments aren't changing a lot. In fact, if anything, in most cases, they're getting worse for you as
Last year's been rough.
And really, especially with your broken kneecap like you experienced. But yet, here's what's beautiful about what you just said, in the way that I think you just approach things that are so different than most, is you're still thinking, no, I'm moving through Groundhog Day. I'm learning and progressing. And so it's your emotional changes. It's the way you're dealing with your disease that you're up leveling and progressing and having different, if it's even possible, because I feel like you're the most hopeful, faithful person I know, but you're growing in your hope and faith to be able to endure this. And so, gosh, that gives us, I guess, who are listening, a lot of room to grow, right?
Well, I always wanted my boys to have, to build character in my children, right? And have them be better people. I could not have imagined the growth in them by having a mother that it's okay. It's okay if you need help. But man, do they just step up and see other people and with such compassion. And that was their choice.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for that. But I do feel like, had I not submitted that one day when I had that impression and started reaching out to my kids, I don't know if they would maybe be as aware. And so of course they had to choose to step up, but it was hard to let go. I'll be honest. It was not easy to let go.
Yeah.
Right on that.
Right.
So we just have to choose what's important.
I can imagine. What if you had chosen to be bitter or upset about this, or maybe
a lot,
or maybe have there been days where you have, and what have you done to shift out of that?
Great question.
Because we all
we
get stuck there.
Our blessings, gratitude is huge. And I have a recent example that I will give you.
Okay.
Because we've loved to travel forever, but this last year, especially just because of the pain and everything else, it is not fun for me. And I've got other things going on with the MS on top of just the pain, and it's been hard for my husband. I've had to say no, and he wants to keep pushing me. I'm like, okay, we're to the point where I need you to be my protector, not my let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be my cheerleader, which he has been forever, but I needed him to just let me stop and heal.
That takes a lot of communication, good communication, which you could probably give us some pointers on.
I don't know about that. Well, anyway, let me finish the gratitude thought. So of course it was around Thanksgiving, and I was just really trying to focus on my blessings and gratitude and being grateful. even for the hard things and what we're learning, because it's hard, but we can always learn something. So we had a little couples trip coming up, and right before Thanksgiving, and I literally did not want to go. Mm-hmm. I was just like, what's the point?
If you're going to hurt and be in pain.
Like, it's fine. So I had a bad attitude, terrible attitude. I'm like, in my head, just going, this is not serving any good for me. I didn't think. And then this thought, because I'm preparing a talk on gratitude, I'm like, I probably should be a better example at this. I just started saying, I'm happy and grateful I get to go on this trip. I am happy and grateful I get to meet new people or rub shoulders with people we've known forever. It was just, it was a couples trip. It was to Arizona, but honestly, it was for my husband's sake. I'm like, I can be better. I need to be better. And even if I have to fake being happy about going on this trip, it was actually really important to him. But as I shifted saying my mantra, I am happy and grateful, I am happy and grateful, I am happy and grateful. Man, was that a fun trip.
Oh.
It didn't make it any easier. Yeah. I'll be honest.
It didn't take your pain away.
And it did not take my pain away. But I had to shift my attitude. Sorry if that's hitting the mic, but it was such a fun trip that I needed and didn't know I needed. And that was humbling. I was like, Lynda, why? Why do I have to make it so hard sometimes? And so it really is just focusing on my blessings and being grateful for what I do have instead of focusing on how hard things are or what we don't have. There are studies. There are, I'm sure you all know better than me. I mean, so many studies that talk about what gratitude does for us.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's huge. And we don't always remember to do it.
No.
So I love how you had that aha, you paid attention, you listened to that little nudge of, oh, I need to be grateful. Yeah. And then that mantra, there's so much power in taking an affirmation or mantra, whatever you want to call it, and just repeating it, or even try printing it and, putting it up. There's a lot of power in having it visual or writing it down, or even writing it down a few times every morning when you wake up. Those are different hacks that will help you to just ingrain that, because it's hard to do. If it weren't hard, we would just all be happy all the time, or what would
we learn?
Right.
Too.
So we have to be intentional about that to change our mindset so that we can have a better experience.
Absolutely. All day long.
Yeah. I love that.
Makes a tremendous difference in my life anyway.
So I know we've covered a lot, but if there were other gifts, like big lessons you've learned as you've managed this illness, is there anything that you would say that we haven't touched on yet that has been life-changing for you? I've discovered as we are more real and transparent and candid with what we're going through, it makes us more approachable. And people are just like, oh, you are going through something hard, because life can look one way. And I tried to hide it, and I tried to, not in a fake way, but just so people wouldn't worry about me. I don't want to, I just didn't want to be a burden. Yeah.
And that was not the right approach. I had to stop living in fear. I had to just really work on being more genuine and vulnerable, which did not come natural to me. And so,
no, but I will say, I remember thinking that about you as I got to know you. It was refreshingly vulnerable. I remember you have a way to connect deeply, quickly, because you're willing to be vulnerable. And I don't think that all of us, I know I don't have that gift, and I have to work at it. It's even hard as I've been doing the podcast and going on social media and learning how to do this.
And I would argue with you on that.
Well, it's hard to be vulnerable because I'm a more private person, yet have felt compelled to share and some of these lessons and even share. I feel like I'm so surrounded by amazing friends, girlfriends, and people that have inspired me in my life. And it just feels like, well, I should share them to a larger audience, because I'm so blessed by these associations. In fact, every podcast I've done to date, it hasn't been hard. It's just been, I've been asking, oh, come have a conversation with me. These are just the people in my life. And every week it's like all these golden nuggets. And I feel like I could
it takes a lot of courage
do this for a long time because we have so many good friends and women. But this gift that you have of being vulnerable, I think has been cultivated through this illness, and it's refreshing. And you can connect deeply with people more quickly because of this gift.
You're way too kind. I appreciate that. But there is a quote that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's important to me, but I just keep hearing it over and over. Mm-hmm. And that is, comparison is the thief of all joy.
Yes.
And what a blessing to be at an age, phase, whatever you want to call it, in my life where, I mean, I don't want to say I don't care, because of course we all care, but I don't care what people think.
Yes. It's refreshing when you get to that place. I think we've earned it with our age.
If you're judging me for that, then you don't know me.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to point fingers, but yes. I genuinely just have had to let go of the comparison and worrying about what other people think. And we as women do that really well.
Yeah.
And we have to let that go.
Yes.
In my humble opinion. And when I was able to do that and not worry about what anyone else thinks, I'm like, I have no control over a lot of this. And if you're going to judge me for that or mock me or laugh at me, then that's your problem.
Right.
And it just, you have to gain that inner peace and confidence, which comes, from my faith as well. So
right.
I can't take any of the credit, but it has taken a lot of years.
Yeah. Well, I think we cultivate that over time through life experiences, through relationships, through trials, so many things that we slowly over time begin to learn to let go. We learn that we really don't have control, and we really don't have control over other people. We only get to control ourselves and our emotions, really, our reactions to the things happening to us around us. Okay, one of the other things that I'm so passionate about, and I talk about it often, is dreaming. I'm pursuing dreams. And I imagine as you've, been dealing with this diagnosis, you've probably had to let go of a lot of dreams and or change your dreams. But how has that impacted dreaming for you?
That is a great question. I've had to let go of a lot of my hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the desire's not there. I mean, the dream can stay alive, but I've had to shift. I will say it's been interesting identifying myself maybe as a runner or a dancer and being able to do it all to having this diagnosis and no control.
Yeah.
Legs turning to lead and having to shift and adjust my identity, but I don't want that identity. Like, why do we have to have an identity? Is that fair? I don't know. Of course we want to identify with people and
but you don't want this disease to be your identity.
This disease is that thank you.
Yeah.
That is what I'm trying to say is I've never wanted it to be my identity or how people see me. And that's letting go of a lot of pride too.
Yeah. Well, I think you've conquered that because, like I said, when we met in those years, as I look back on it now, yes, you had MS and you were moving slow, but I didn't see it. Like Braden, I remember when it finally dawned on me, and he's like, "Mom, how did you not know that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't see her that way. I didn't attach her into that. I guess I wasn't aware."
I appreciate that.
But you also, you handle it so well.
Well, the dreams don't die.
Yeah.
The dreams certainly don't die. You just have to navigate them differently.
Yes.
And that's okay. It takes a little longer sometimes.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's being determined to not let life's challenges, whatever, we all have our challenges, get in the way, letting it not get in the way of what our dreams are.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
I'm glad you said that because I often will say this, and I believe it's so true that, I tell people to dream. You always need to be dreaming and have goals and, lofty ones, big ones, small ones, just ideas in your head. I think it's a beautiful gift that we have, this ability to dream. And I often will say to my kids, when they are dreaming something up and they want to do something, but it doesn't come to pass, that you just have to shift. You have to be willing to pivot. Don't be scared to dream because it may not happen, or you might not be able to successfully do something. Go dream, and then I guess it's not having a fear of failure, because you can just adjust it. Everything can work together for your good.
Don't let that fear paralyze you.
Yeah.
Because it will all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You're just choosing to not let it stop you and keep finding another way to get your hopes and dreams.
Because you might learn, well, I can't do it that way, so now I'm going to do it this way. And I think that's what you're experiencing, is you've probably become the expert at this, of just reimagining your dreams, reimagining your life, reimagining what traveling looks like, not stopping to travel, but like, we're going to travel. And I love how you were telling me the other day that you were in New York City and trying to get somewhere, and Roscoe just picked you up and put you on his shoulder, and he's crossing the sidewalks. Imagine this, ladies, in New York City, busy New York City, just heading,
literally going across the street to Central Park to find a horse buggy. It was so hot, they put the horses up.
Oh,
it was too hot. So anyway, we were in the city and trying to just enjoy the park for a minute. And so he puts me on his back. I'm, and it looks romantic. It's not graceful at all. I'm not graceful, but I've had to get over that too.
Uh-huh.
And so here he's kind of trotting with me on his back. And I'm 5'9". I'm not this tiny little petite thing. So, thankfully he's just fit, and we're running across the street, and there are 3 just darling young adults just crossing the street coming towards us, and they see what's going on, and instantly they're just like, that is so romantic. That is so cute. And I'm like,
you're thinking, this is not feeling romantic to me.
It's 100 degrees in New York City with but I quickly just was like, this is for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, guess what? This is what you need to hold out for.
Yeah.
And don't ever settle, because this is still out there. And I refuse to.
Chivalry is not dead.
I refuse to let chivalry die with my boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I just thought it was so cute. And I certainly could just be like, this stinks. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Just be negative.
Just be negative. No one wants to hear it. That's what I discovered.
Well, you probably don't want to hear it in your head.
You're like head, and we can find ways to be real and be just transparent and candid without sugarcoating the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, people are like, how are you feeling? I'm like, you don't want to hear, but it's okay. Life's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we can find ways to not just get stuck in the mire of our misery.
Mm-hmm.
That does no one any good.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
But I love how you found ways to be honest. Like, oh, you don't want to hear it, or I'm not good, but you'll be honest and still put a positive spin on it, which is refreshing, because that's the vulnerability that I think is relatable.
Thank you.
That makes you so relatable.
Well, whatever's going on is bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could look at those cute young adults, those cute, young, I think they were probably mid-20s, and their hearts melted because they saw my husband piggybacking me. They didn't know the circumstances, and they just saw it as something that was super cute and romantic.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Maybe you didn't want to get your heels
Exactly.
in the mud. No. Who knows what they thought.
But it's not going to do them or me any good to feel like you have no idea why he's carrying me and
be negative. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
that's such a cute story.
Out, and that's okay,
So
anyway,
it was such a cute story.
Yeah, it was fun.
As we wrap things up, because we're running out of time, what is the dream on your horizon right now? Other than a cure and maybe that is the big dream.
That's obvious. My biggest dream now is our oldest son just had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a grandma now, and he's 3 months old, and I'm telling you, the hype is real. We were just talking about this. We're obsessed with this little human. And my dream is to be that fun, involved, you know, in everything, grandma.
Yeah.
Because
I believe you. The person who did Treat Friday for 10 years, I can only imagine how involved you want to be.
Happen. And I am working really hard to get my legs back and finding different modalities and therapies.
Just never resting.
And it is, that is my biggest dream. I just want to be that fun grandma. And because those intergenerational, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the
Relationships
are critical.
Yes,
And I
they
never
really
had
are.
that. And my mom died when I was young, and my grandparents were all gone before I was born. So we're breaking that right now.
Yes.
So
And I believe you.
right now, that's my biggest dream, is just to be the fun grandma.
I love that.
I want my grandbabies just to come over and spend the night and cuddle and want me to read to them. And so that's it.
And I love how you've set your environment up in your new transitioned home in such a way that you can do that and still, you know, you've just worked around your disability to make it work for you in your life in such a beautiful way.
I have often said, this slows me down, but it will never stop me. So here we go, slowly. We're still moving forward, right?
Oh, always moving forward, always in pursuit of our dreams. Yes. I love that down. Ladies, don't let things may slow you down, but don't ever let it stop you. That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Callie. You're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing. And I'm so glad that you all got to hear more about her story and how she's just handling this with beauty and grace. It's such a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for being with us today. It's always fun to share this moment with you. And I hope that you all have a wonderful week and are able to take some of these things and you know, implement them. Just we've had a lot of nuggets this week. So definitely learn from this. And if you have enjoyed it, please leave a review, share it with a friend who might also benefit from hearing this. And above all, stay pretty, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.